Hi, my name's Brad Thomas from YakTrack and welcome to episode number 5 of our common coaching errors. In this episode, we'll be focusing on a really common one, and that is the failure to set a goal at the end of coaching sessions. So often, I've been involved in coaching whereby we have a lovely conversation and then everyone walks away without setting a goal. There's no clear actions or directive around what we're going to do next. And even if a goal is set, there's a couple of common errors. Number one is no one writes anything down. And number two is it can commonly be focused on output rather than input. And what I mean by that is we set goals around the KPI versus what we're going to do differently to drive that KPI. So i.e. I want to shift my NPS, my customer satisfaction, from -1 to +10 versus what specifically I'm going to do differently. YakTrack suggests that the majority of goals actually set are around the number, and part of YakTrack's role is to help shift that trend and guide setting around behavior versus the number. There's a lot of benefits around setting goals on behavior versus the number. Number one is setting on behavior triggers a behavior, triggers action around the behavior. I'm really clear on what I need to do differently. It guides focus. I'm very focused on 1 or 2 things versus 50 things that I need to do over the course of between now and our next coaching session. Number 3, it drives momentum. So I can really clearly see what I need to do every single day versus at the end of a time frame, I need to have hit a certain KPI. If I'm clear on behavior, I can be clear on daily activity that I need to do a little bit differently. And finally, it promotes self-mastery. If I'm working on a behavior, I'm consistently getting better and better day in and day out the more I use that behavior. So self-mastery becomes really important. So what are some key tips to setting really effective goals? Number one is make sure you involve your team members. Team members love being involved in the process. The more they're involved, the more they're engaged, the more likelihood a goal will actually happen. So, or the outcome will actually be achieved. So rather than saying, here's the goal that we're going to set for you today, try asking, what goal would you like to set today? The second piece is make sure it's behavioural focus, and we've already talked a lot about that as part of this video. Number 3, we've got to make sure a behavioural goal is measured. Now, measurement has 2 key components for behavioural goals. Number 1 is the behaviour needs to be linked to an output. So although I've said don't set the goal just on the KPI, the output, it is important it's still linked. So for example, I will work on this behaviour that is going to shift this KPI, and the KPI hopefully will shift from, again, -1 to +10. And that's what I hope working on these behaviors will help me drive. And that's really important that those 2 elements are linked. The second element of measurement, particularly for behavioral based coaching or goals, is to make sure you put yourself in a position to observe the team member in action, using the skills, using the capabilities that you've used during your coaching session. And there's 2 things, as we've talked about in previous videos, that you really need to make sure you're looking for. Number 1 is, are they using the skill? And number 2 is, are they using the skill really, really well? So let's have a quick look in YakTrack now and see how YakTrack can help you ensure you're setting effective goals.
So here we are on a leader's dashboard. Let's assume we've had some coaching and we're now going to go in and set a goal for a team member. Let's start with Adrian Smith. Let's go up to the goal section. So we'll go and create a goal here, and we have the goal pop up. The first thing we're going to do is really focus on and select the core behavior that will be the focus of this goal, in this case discovery, so we can really start tracking speed to competency over a period of time and all the skills that everyone's working on. We'll make sure we've got the due by date here, and the goal text will be pretty simple to cover off all the key points we've talked about so far. I will use open discovery questions 5 times each day and keep Christine, my leader, informed of the progress. The aim is to use this skill to improve NPS from -1 to +10. So all the right details there. If we're not sure on how to set a goal, we've got some goal tips here as well. Let's save that. What happens now is that goal gets pushed to the team leader's dashboard as well as the team members dashboard in order to ensure that that goal gets worked towards progressively. What happens now is the team member and the leader can start providing feedback every day around how they're tracking over time, and making sure that the leader can communicate with the team member effectively on feedback for the goal.
So there you have it. By now you should see how important it is to be setting a behavioural goal at the end of every single one of your coaching sessions. In absence of that, the coaching that you've just had becomes just another chat. Using a system like YakTrack to ensure that we're writing down our goals and driving quality and ensuring that those goals are achieved in the right amount of time is also incredibly important to make sure everybody stays accountable for doing the things that they've committed to doing. What are you going to do differently this month to improve your coaching?